Welcome back to Med Audio. Just finished to install a gold ring cartridge A3 for my Dual CS 518. Actually it's coming with the Ortho Red, but the synergy between Ortho Red and the Rotel A11 Tribute that we are going to review today was not so fine, but I will tell you after in the review why. So, are you ready? We are going to review today the Rotel A11 Tribute and a small jump, and let's do it. How many of you know Mr. Ken Ishiwata? I personally never met him, unfortunately, but as an audiophile I used to read a lot about him and the love for the music that he has. Mr. Ishiwata started his career in the late 60s with Pioneer, that was looking for an audio engineer that could speak English. Moving in Europe in 1968, he helped Pioneer to developing audio products. Back in Japan in 1978, he joined Maren's company as technical commercial coordinator and then like a brand ambassador. In 2019, before unfortunately he passed away, he collaborated with Rotel for the fine-tuning of the already original A11 and CD11. A11 that is actually the entry level of Rotel, and it's really interesting to see that Mr. Ken Ishiwata wanted to fine-tuning the entry-level products. Mr. Ishiwata's philosophy was that the music is the highest and noble form of art, and highly affordable gears was the key to making sure everyone could enjoy it. The A11 and CD11 Tribute are very similar aesthetically to the original A11 and CD11, with the only difference that in the front panel we can find this small ideogram Tribute logo. Internally, at the recommendation of Mr. Ishiwata, Rotel engineers upgrade some capacitors and resistors on the signal pad, but not only, was added also some additional damping in the chassis to improve mechanics isolations and decrease vibrations. Specs are largely the same of the original A11 and CD11. I didn't test, unfortunately, the original version, so please don't ask what is the sound quality difference. CD11 Tribute out of the box look really beautiful, elegant, minimalist and very solid. Metallic chassis and a standard LCD display. LCD display that look probably a little bit standard, a little bit cheap. I was expecting from more Rotel probably something a little bit modern. But at least I don't have any problem to read it from my listening position. Internally, CD mechanic is housed in a sunken area of the chassis frame to keep the center of the gravity together with the internal resonance very low. Back connection we can find analog output but also digital coaxial output, and it's very nice because actually I use both of them. I use for my entry-level systems the analog output to the Rotel A11, but also I use the CD only for like a mechanics with the digital coaxial that is going to my reference system and to my reference digital to analog converter, the Cambridge Audio Edge & That means that if one day you want to upgrade the internal digital to analog converter of the CD11, the PCM1502A, in the future you can just use it like a mechanics and will work really fine. The original A11 was already a ASA Best Buy amplifier in 2019-2020. Class AB design is rated to deliver 50 watts with both channel driven into 80 ohm. It features 4 lines level input, Phono stage input and 2 speaker level output connections. So if you would like, you can switch between speaker A and B in the same rooms but also in a different room. But I'm not finished, you got also a preamp output if you want, for example, connect a subwoofer. Regarding subwoofer connections, I always suggest to look my video that I did how to connect correctly a subwoofer in a hi-fi systems, because it's nothing easy. And in the end we got also a Bluetooth connection aptX that is not something common actually, because inside the A11 we have the same digital to analog converter of the CD11. So we don't have any digital input, but we have also only the Bluetooth. Bluetooth sound quality I was really impressed. I was shocked. Actually, who know me know that I'm not a Bluetooth lover. But in this case it was working, and the sound quality was really great. That in the end I use only the Bluetooth. But there is a but with Bluetooth, there is a but. We got a small gap of 10 seconds, not every time, but sometimes when you are going to play some music. That's meaning that sometimes you play the music, for example with Tidals, you have to wait 10 seconds before it starts and you lose the first 10 seconds. Then you have to play it again and it's fine. That is something a little bit annoying. If you're looking for streaming capability, I suggest to take a look of the Audiophile S50 Pro Plus that I just reviewed last week. Great products with a highly affordable price. The A11 is the perfect partner of the CD11, where we can find the same solid and elegant designs available in two finishes, black and silver. Button look good assembled and volume knob is correctly smooth. Both of them are coming with a remote control that is a little bit plastic, but I don't have any problems. Probably buttons are a little bit small, but it's not a big issue. And I like it that with the only A11 you can driving the A11 and the CD11. So you can just throw away the CD11 remote control and have just one remote control. And that's something nice, because at home I have something like 10 remote control and I'm going crazy with it. Connect the Rotel Tribute A11 is very easy. I used in acoustic cables RCAs between the CD and A11 and also between A11 and my speaker. One thing about cables, don't use expensive cables. These ones that I used are actually affordable. Not highly affordable, but affordable. One nice story, one time I was testing very expensive cables and I had to compare it with my cables that was costing something like 30 bucks, and God, my cables with 30 bucks was sounding absolutely better. So you don't need expensive cables. Actually, for my reference system I have one, but I have it only because I wanted to have it. Also because my reference speakers are very expensive. So I wanted to just use expensive cables, but you don't need it. With this, actually with entry-level setup like that, a normal cable will be just fine. Just to be sure that connections are good, is not has to play or something, that to avoid that you have a losing connection or something like that, and then you are fine. As speaker setup, I paired with my Q-Acoustic 3030E, the Sonetto 1 and the Rotel Evo 4.1. And as source I use my dual CS518 turntable fitted with the Audiophile Red 2M cartridge and the Audiophile S50 Pro Plus like music streamer. Regarding the Audiophile Red 2M, the synergy with the Phono stage of the Rotel was not good, but we will talk about it in the Phono stage sound quality. With the speaker, the three speakers, all three will sound different because they are different speakers. Actually, we'll go in the deep with a dedicated review that will come also next week. But with the three speaker, the synergy between the speaker and the Rotel was just perfect, was sound really beautiful. And now let's speak about sound quality. Overall tonality was looked to me really balanced and neutral. Nothing is appeared to be emphasized in any range, and the reproduction of music is really done in a faithful way. It's absolutely not an aggressive amp, instead is very gently and probably sometimes a little bit shy, especially in classic music and in orchestra crescendo, where I would like to have a little bit more of dynamics. Bass give a perfect overall tonality to the instruments, balancing the whole scene in an enjoyable way. But maybe it's just lacking a little bit of focus and definition if not paired with the correct speaker. And I noticed this with the Rotel Evo 4.1, that in some complex passages, especially in classic music, it was just losing a little bit of definitions. But not with the Q-Acoustic, for example, and the Sonetto 1. Kick drums are not taking all the spotlights, but are still very realistic and with a beautiful decay. Treble, in my opinion, is soft and rounded, and probably if it's not paired with the right speaker could miss a little bit of airy in voices and instruments details. But it's absolutely not fatigue, and that's something that I really love, and has a good textures considering the price range. Mid-range has a good intelligibility with no audible colorations on voices timbre that are perfectly reproduced also at low volumes. Testing on low volumes for me is very important because most of the time I'm listening on low, medium volumes. But push it to the limits, the A11 is probably giving a little bit signs of fatigue. So I will not pair it definitely with very low impedance speaker. Voices and instruments don't project themselves in front of you, but instead are correctly located inside the soundstage. Soundstage that is definitely more depth than width, but played with the right speaker positioning, you can really balance it on your taste. CDF tonality is definitely overall in line with the A11 tonality, really balanced and neutral, and I really enjoy it, connected to my entry-level systems, but also used just like a mechanics with my reference system. Headphone output has enough power to drive also high impedance headphones. I didn't have any problem to drive my Sennheiser 800S and also my Bayer Dynamic 600 ohm. That was actually played very loud. The sound quality of the headphone is pretty dynamic, voices are clean and instrument sounds natural. It's not the most refined headphone amp that I used to listen for, and sometimes it's missing of body, especially in low frequencies. But for an entry-level integrated amplifier, it actually works really fine. The only things that I suggest is don't use planar magnetic headphones on these outputs because it not has enough power to drive this type of headphones. I tried with my Hi-Fi Man 400 SE beautiful planar magnetic headphones and was playing very low. Also, I will let you the review in the descriptions if you want to take a look about it. Phono stage is probably the only things that I didn't enjoy it on the Rotel A11. I found that it's lack a little bit of accuracy, voices sounds a little bit teeny and is missing a little bit of body in the overall tonality. So I had to work a little bit on the setup to achieve better results. What helps a lot was moving from the Orthophone Red 2M to the Goldring A3. Not that the Orthophone Red is not a good cartridge, actually it is, but I never really enjoyed it when I was paired with low budget phono stage. The only time that I enjoyed it was when I paired it with my SPL phono stage. But here we are speaking about high-end reference phono stage and is not cheap. But actually you don't need to spend so much to achieve good results. With the Goldring A3, the phono stage of the Rotel was actually run really beautiful. Voices was against full with a good textures and overall tonality was really with a good body and instruments sound a little bit more accurate and realistic. What I suggest to do is to test something like the iPhone phono stage. Stay tuned because a review is coming really soon. About comparison, please take a look of the M2SE review. I will let it in the descriptions. It's a really beautiful integrated amplifier. It's a little bit more expensive, but especially in classic music, it will give you this dynamics and power that you need. Other integrated amplifiers that you can look for are the Cambridge Audio AX100 and the Yamaha AS701. Here we are a little bit more closer in the price range, but unfortunately I never test it and I hope to do it in the future so I can give you also my opinion. So in the end, if you are looking for an integrated amplifier that is incredibly affordable in the price, full of features and that has a great musicality, but not only enough power also to drive any type of speaker, I can really recommend the Tribute A11. It may not be perfect, but is a good choice with a varied speakers and music genre, especially if the focus is on acoustic music, classic piano, vocal jacks and rock. And that's it, this was my review of the Rotel Tribute A11. Please stay tuned because next week we are going to review 3 speakers in one review. It will be really interesting, and actually I also tested with the Rotel Tribute A11, so we'll go a little bit more deep in the sound quality. From it out is everything. I hope you enjoy my video. Subscribe to the channel for support my work and see you soon.